Cowboy opens the sack despite her desperate plea to stop. In the grim heart of a county, shrouded in darkness, a woman with a sack over her head begged for freedom. The truth she carried was a terrifying burden. A local magistrate, a pillar of false virtue, was revealed to be a kidnapper and murderer of women. He operated with impunity, his reign of terror unchallenged. Yet, one man, a lone wanderer named Isaac, dared to lift the veil. He removed the sack, and with that single act, a silent world was shattered. The ensuing drama was a shocking revelation, a testament to how even the most cunning lies can be undone, and how justice, in the end, finds a way. Oklahoma, 1883. The day was drawing to a close, a dusty sun casting long shadows over the scorched prairie. Isaac Cole drove his wagon, laden with supplies, through the rust-colored landscape. Solitude had been his companion for years, a shield he adopted after the tragic loss of his wife and brother. He had turned away from faith, becoming a man who sought no one's company. But this evening, the road offered a chilling sight. A woman sat on a fence post below a rocky outcrop. She was barefoot, a rough sack pulled tight over her head, her hands folded in her lap. She was motionless, a silent figure in the vast emptiness. Isaac pulled the wagon to a halt. "Are you all right, Mum?" She didn't respond. A faint shiver passed through her. Approaching cautiously, Isaac felt a prickle of unease. Was this a trap? An ambush? A soft voice, barely audible against the wind, broke the silence. "Please, I beg you, just take me with you. Anywhere." "Ma'am, who are you? What is that on your head?" He moved closer and saw the sack was secured with a tight knot of twine. The woman whimpered, "Not now, please. Just not now." "Who did this to you?" She shook her head, and that's when he noticed the faded scars and old bloodstains on her wrists. He asked no more questions. He simply helped her into the wagon. On the journey to his homestead, she sat silent and still, a scarecrow with a bag for her face. Only the short, ragged sound of her breathing revealed she was alive. Isaac was not one to open his home to strangers, but this was different. She wasn't seeking refuge, she was seeking salvation. He warmed a pot of leftover stew and placed a mug of tea on the table before her. She didn't touch it, her hands clenched into tight fists. "You can stay for the night," he said. "Tomorrow, I'll take you to town." "No," she said, her voice surprisingly strong. "No, you can't." "Why? Who's looking for you?" After a moment, she replied, "If you take off the sack, you'll understand." His hand hovered, his gaze fixed on her trembling form. He leaned forward, his fingers touching the rough twine. "Please, I beg you, take it off," she whispered. He untied the knot and pulled the sack away. The world seemed to stop. His heart hammered in his chest. Before him was a young woman with a face crisscrossed by scars, as if someone had cut her with glass. But it wasn't the scars that made him freeze. It was the face itself. He knew it. He had to. "This can't be," he whispered, because the woman before him was Sarah Williams, who 3 years prior had been publicly hanged for the murder of a judge and the disappearance of children from a local orphanage. She was alive, sitting in his home, and he had just removed the sack that someone, somewhere, would kill to keep in place. Isaac Cole sank onto the edge of his bed, the floor seeming to shift beneath him. Sarah Williams, alive and real. He knew this face, a face that should have been buried in a grave 3 years ago. "But you," his voice wavered, "you were hanged." She stared at him, her eyes holding a deep sorrow. "No, I was sent away. It wasn't an execution. It was a warning." She brushed her hair from her face, revealing how the scars had been deliberately salted to prevent them from healing. "They wanted me to never lift my head again," she said. "They wanted anyone who saw me to turn away, to believe I was no longer a person." Isaac struggled to make sense of the new reality, a world built on a foundation of lies. The newspapers had declared her a mad widow who had poisoned Judge Thompson and drowned 3 children. The whole county had thirsted for her blood, cheering at the gallows. "Then who?" he began, his voice trailing off. "Who is in your grave?" Sarah looked toward the window. "A little girl from the orphanage, the one who begged me to hide her." "No, I didn't kill her." She died before we reached the river. From illness, not murder. Her voice broke. I used her to escape. I dressed her in my clothes, left my ring. All that was mine. And I disfigured myself and ran. God knows it's a sin. But it was the only way to survive. I knew too much. I saw too much. A cold certainty settled in Isaac's stomach. What did you see, Sarah? Her gaze met his. Judge Thompson. He was selling the children. Through the orphanage, the orphans were taken one by one. And no one ever returned. When I raised an alarm, he accused me. He made it look like I was the killer. Silence fell like a heavy stone. Later that night, Isaac stepped outside to clear his head. His horse in the corral was restless, sensing the tension. The moon was too bright, too revealing. He realized that, if what Sarah said was true, someone else knew she was alive. Otherwise, she wouldn't be hiding. She wouldn't have appeared on his fence with a sack over her head like a stray dog. When he awoke in the morning, she was gone. Only the sack remained, folded neatly on the table. Beside it was a scrap of petticoat with a message scrawled in charcoal. If they find me here, they will burn everything. Leave. Forget me. He felt a surge of panic. He ran to the barn. The wagon was gone, and so was Sarah. Fresh tracks led toward the hills. On the fence where she had sat, a dead crow was pinned with a spike to a piece of parchment. A crude message was written on it. The sack wasn't for her. It was for the truth. And you took it off. Sarah ran all night, barefoot, her torn skirt flapping. She clutched the sack, a grim reminder of her past. She had learned a harsh lesson. No one could be trusted, not even those who offered compassion. Isaac was different, she sensed that, but staying with him would only lead to his demise. So she left, but too late. Are you certain she was here? Sheriff Barnes asked, standing in the middle of Isaac's yard. A whip handle hung from his belt. I live alone, Isaac replied flatly. If someone was here, they've moved on. Then why does this house smell of a woman? Another man sneered, his face polished like a preacher's, his eyes holding the coldness of ash. I'm not a bloodhound, Isaac growled. You know who she is, a third man said, his face half burned, as if someone had tried to scar away the truth. Isaac remained silent. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. She didn't just kill the judge. She broke a sacred chain. What chain? Isaac asked. The one that holds order. A woman cannot burn a church and live to tell about it. She didn't do that. The silence that followed confirmed everything. They knew he was involved. Sarah ran along the dry bed of a creek, her skin raw, her pace quick. She had to reach the canyon before nightfall. An old mine lay there, untouched since the children vanished 20 years ago. But as the sun began to set, they caught up to her. Well, there you are, you witch. A voice sneered from behind. She spun around to face 3 men in black cloaks, their faces obscured, their eyes like those of dogs bred for the hunt. They shoved her to the ground. One pulled a knife. You broke the deal, he said. You were supposed to die as a lesson, but you decided to come back. You thought someone would take pity on you. Sarah spat in his face. He kicked her in the stomach. As she doubled over in pain, a shot rang out from the bushes. The man fell, a bullet in his neck. The other two turned and saw Isaac, his rifle raised, a raw fury he had held back for years now unleashed. Let her go. You don't know who you're dealing with, Cole. I do. The men who buried the truth along with the children. They charged at him, but his shots were precise. One in the chest, another in the shoulder, the third in the head. Later, near the mine, he sat with Sarah as she wiped blood from her face. Why did you come back? She asked. Because you told the truth, and I'd been silent for too long. He looked at the crimson sunset staining the sky. Now the others will come. In the distance, a man in town read a telegram. She's alive. Cole is with her. The bodies were found. The secret is out. He set the paper down, wiped his pen meticulously, and said, Then the hunt begins. At dawn, they left the mine. Isaac knew if they were found, he couldn't protect her. He had killed for the truth, but truth had no sanctuary in this county. Sarah walked in silence, wearing his old jacket and pants cinched with a rope. She carried the sack, her only possession. "We can't go to town," he said. "But if we can get to the military post at Fort Hayes, they might listen." He looked at the sack she carried. "Are you going to show them what's in there?" She stopped. "If I don't, it will all happen again. They'll choose another judge. The women will stay silent. The children will disappear. Next time, no one will escape. Then show me." She knelt, carefully untied the knots, and opened the sack. Isaac froze. It wasn't empty. It was filled with faces. The faces of the victims, cut from them not out of cruelty, but as evidence. Women and children. Some were mummified, others still fresh, each neatly wrapped in canvas with their names embroidered. A sister, a daughter, a mother, a neighbor, a student. Sarah closed the sack. The judge kept them in the church cellar, under the confessional. I was one of them, the only one he left a face, so I could tell my story. But no one would believe. I burned him, but the church didn't just burn. It exploded. He had a stash of saltpeter there. I survived. He didn't. Isaac sat down slowly, unable to speak. By evening, they reached an old stagecoach route. Their pursuers were waiting. For a moment, they thought it was help. But when a man in a black frock coat emerged from the bushes, Isaac knew this was the end. "Mr. Cole, Miss, I don't know your current name. You've done terrible things. We brought proof," Sarah said, holding out the sack. "Yes." The man took the sack. "And that is precisely why you cannot live." He stepped back. A muffled pop. No gunshot. Only the whisper of a bullet passing inches from Sarah's head. "Run!" Isaac yelled. She bolted. Isaac lunged, snatched the sack from the man's hands, and threw it into a fire. The canvas burst into flames. "No!" the man screamed. "You don't understand what you've done." "Oh, I understand," Isaac growled. "I burned their lies. And now they stink up the whole county." Shots rang out. One hit Isaac's shoulder, the second his stomach. He fell to his knees. Sarah, grabbing a dead man's revolver, fired, killing one. The second man wounded her, but she crawled to Isaac. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I couldn't protect you." "You did more," she said. "You heard me." 2 days later, a riot erupted in the county. Old wounds were reopened. Women spoke. Priests vanished. Vaults were opened. Newspapers wrote, "Cult of Silence in Western County exposed." Months later, by the rocks, a woman with a scar and a child in her arms looked into the distance. On her belt hung a small bag of ashes, all that remained of what would never be again. She no longer wore a sack on her face, only the truth in her heart.